Breaking tonight, new controversy for Donna Brazile as the interim DNC chair and former CNN contributor finds herself once again accused of stacking the deck for Hillary Clinton. She's accused of cheating. This is the second time in the second event where Ms. Brazile appears to have fed the Clinton campaign insider information in advance of a debate. Here's a little of what happened when I interviewed her about the first incident.
Where'd you get it? Clear.
Where did you get it?
First of all, what information are you providing to me that will allow me to see what you're talking about? Everybody
You got the WikiLeaks released a March 12th Podesta email showing you messaging the Clinton campaign with the exact wording of a question asked at the March 13th CNN TV1 town hall debate. Where did you get it?
You know, as a Christian woman, I understand persecution, but I will not sit here and be persecuted because your information is totally false. What you're telling the American people,
Podesta's email.
Well, Podesta's emails were stolen. You're so interested in talking about stolen
So you
material.
deny it.
You're like a thief that want to bring into the night the things that you found that was in the gutter.
Jake Tapper came out and said this was unethical. That's your own colleague at CNN. It's not Megyn Kelly. Who gave you that question?
Hey, Megyn, once again, I've said it, and I've said it on the record, and I'll say it on the record, and I'll keep saying it on the record. I am not going to try to validate falsified information.
Your email to the Clinton camp said, sometimes I receive the questions in advance. And
you know
CNN is saying Roland Martin gave them to you or someone at TV1. And they were provided to Hillary before that town hall.
Well, anybody who knows me, and there are a number of your colleagues as well, they know me very well. I know how I play it. CNN has never provided me with questions, absolutely ever, nada.
Well, when you said from time to time I get the questions in advance, what were you referring to? Because in that email you offered the exact question that one of the moderators, Roland Martin, then proposed the next day.
So my reference back to you, ma'am, with all respect, and I respect you greatly.
And I respect you too.
The validity of those emails, if I can only tell you one thing, because as you know, this whole episode is under criminal investigation, but I could just tell you one thing. A lot of those emails, I would not give them the time of the day. I've seen so many doctored emails.
Today, Ms. Brazile is again denying any wrongdoing. In moments, we'll be joined by Tucker Carlson and Richard Fowler. We'll ask them if this latest development supports Donald Trump's claim that the system is rigged. And we'll also speak with Howie Kurtz about the fallout here for CNN. But we begin with Trace Gallagher reporting from our West Coast newsroom. Trace?
Megyn, now it appears that one day before the Democratic primary debate on March 6th in Flint, Michigan, on CNN, Donna Brazile apparently wrote to Clinton campaign chair John Podesta and campaign communications advisor Jen Palmieri, quoting, "One of the questions directed to HRC tomorrow is from a woman with a rash. Her family has lead poison, and she will ask what, if anything, will Hillary do as president to help the people of Flint?" And here's the question that was asked the very next night to both Clinton and Bernie Sanders. Watch.
Will you make a personal promise to me right now that as president in your first 100 days in office, you will make it a requirement that all public water systems must remove all lead service lines throughout the entire United States?
A little too coincidental for CNN, which now says it severed ties with Donna Brazile back on October 14th and, quote, never gave Brazile access to any questions. We are completely uncomfortable with what we have learned about her interactions with the Clinton campaign while she was a CNN contributor. Brazile herself continues denying that she gave the Clinton campaign questions and says that she treated the Democratic candidates equally. And remember, at the time, she was the vice chair of the Democratic National Committee, which is not supposed to back candidates during the primary. But today's response from Brazile is downright tepid compared to the defense when she was first accused of tipping off the Clinton campaign earlier this month. That's when she claimed persecution and reportedly indicated the Russians may have doctored emails that she apparently sent to the Clinton campaign before the March 12th primary debate, also on CNN. Quoting from them, "From time to time, I get the questions in advance. Here's one that worries me about HRC. Brazile then goes on to warn the Clinton campaign to be prepared for a question about the death penalty, which Hillary Clinton supports, but that Clinton answered at length during the debate. Megyn.
Trace, thank you. Joining us now, Tucker Carlson, editor-in-chief of the Daily Caller and co-host of Fox & Friends on the weekends here at Fox, and Richard Fowler, who's a Fox News contributor and nationally syndicated radio talk show host. Man, you know, can I tell you, when this story first broke, I defended CNN and I defended Donna Brazile, saying I just cannot imagine either one of them doing this. I can't imagine. It would be the height of unethical behavior. And yet the facts appear to be proving my initial defense of them wrong. And there's nowhere for them to go with it, Tucker. There's nowhere for them to go.
She may respect you, but she was lying right to your face, as we now know. I mean, let's just stipulate, by the way, at the outset, that whether or not you agree with WikiLeaks, what they do, even if you're appalled by WikiLeaks, I don't think there's a single piece of data they've ever released that has been proven to be false, a fabrication. And it's the same in this case. She did this. CNN knows she did this, and consider CNN's response. They're, quote, uncomfortable with this. She stole information that may, in the end, have influenced the outcome of a presidential nominating contest that was close and tough fought, as you remember, at the time. And she weighed in on one side with the help of information that CNN had. What's CNN's response? So I reached out to Brian Stelter, who hosts their media show over there today, and he's always on his high horse about some wrongdoing in the media. No real response from him, and that has basically been the response from CNN. Who's watching the watchdog? That's the meta question here, and the answer, of course, is nobody. It's unwilling to police itself as a network, and I think that's really a problem. You
know, Richard, the problem is that it undermines the integrity of the whole system, and it makes people wonder whether, you know, what other cheating has there been that we don't know about, and whether this continued. Did this continue thereafter? Might this have gone on during, you know, into the general election? I mean, you tell me whether this makes you uncomfortable.
Well, don't get me wrong. I think this is very, very messy. And I agree with Tucker on the point that I think CNN really should be, pointing the mirror at themselves and figure out how is it possible for one of your contributors to get the question when in a network like this, nobody got the questions, right? And so I think that needs to be said. But here's the larger problem, and I think the problem for Donald Trump. Yes, there is a problem. Yes, this is problematic. But with that being said, Donald Trump's idea that the media is somehow coordinating with all these, states, the Board of Elections to rig the election seems to be false. Yeah. What the media is doing, besides what we've seen with this email, most of the time, Donald Trump is putting his foot in his mouth. The media is pointing it out, and he's blaming the media for him putting his foot in his mouth.
Okay,
and that's problematic.
And we've covered that at length, but this is a distinct and serious problem, Tucker. And I mean, I know this is an old horse, but can you imagine if this were a Republican who had been fed a question by Fox News, the different reaction we'd be seeing in the media?
Well, I was standing about 5 feet away from you when you did that interview with Donna Brazile, whom I like, by the way. I live here. I know her. And my jaw was open, as was the jaw of everyone watching. October 19th, we were in one of the debates, as I remember. And I remember thinking, how can that not be on the front page of the New York Times? She has no response at all. She accuses you of persecuting her. She kind of half quotes the Bible and then sort of stumbles off to another interview. I'm thinking, this is the head of one of our two political parties giving a nonsensical answer, lying in the most transparent possible way, and basically nobody picked it up. It's like, yeah, whatever. She just kind of went on. Do you know what I mean? Like, somebody should be saying,
it was an extraordinary moment. But Richard, can she stay as acting chairwoman of the Democratic National Committee?
Oh, listen, I know Donna very well, just like Tucker. I know her personally. I know her for almost a decade. What I will say is that she, I think it's very sad that the Russians have hacked these emails. But I do think, here's the thing. Donna is, and I think anybody on either side of the aisle can tell you. You talk to Karl Rove, tell you the same thing. Donna is one of the best political operatives out there, and I'm happy that she's at the helm of our party going into what's going to be a very tough election.
She's a lovely person. I mean, listen, this is my job, right? I get paid to call this stuff out, so I did. But I had her dead to rights, and one wonders whether the reason she was so defensive in that interview was because she knew it wasn't the only time, Richard. And you tell me you're fine with her, notwithstanding the fact that she appears to have cheated in 2 debates, staying as the head of the DNC.
Well, like I said, I think there has to be the question needs to be asked is how is it possible for a political operative to get a question? That's the main question here, and I think me and Tucker agree on that point. With that being said, when it comes to running the Democratic Party, when it comes to winning this election, which is likely we're going to do in 8 days, I trust nobody more than Donna Brazile to get the job done.
Wow, I'm sure she gets the job done all right. Look, she got the one nominated she wanted, and she's ahead in the polls. The question is, how'd they get there? Richard, good to see you. Tucker, you too.
Because of the people, not because of the emails.
Well, now
Right.
because of that behavior, we have to question that. Good to see you both. Goodbye. As Trace mentioned, we reached out to CNN. We were given a statement that reads in part, quote, on October 14th, CNN accepted Donna Brazile's resignation as a CNN contributor. It goes on to say, quote, CNN never gave Brazile access to any questions, prep material, attendee lists, background information, or meetings in advance of a town hall or a debate. Howie Kurtz is host of Media Buzz on Fox News. Howie used to work at CNN. I don't want to be the first to run to condemn CNN. I don't know how she got the questions, Howie, but they need to look into this.
Look, you used the right word in saying this was cheating. Donna Brazile betrayed the network where she worked for many years, and it gives me no joy to say that as somebody who's also known her for a long time. But CNN has handled this poorly. I don't believe anyone at CNN fed these questions in advance to Donna Brazile. CNN suggested it came from TV1, the partner in that town hall where Donna Brazile got those advanced questions. But here's the thing. More than 2 weeks ago, CNN basically forced Donna Brazile out. They're calling it a resignation. We all know what happened. This is the first we're hearing about it with the second WikiLeaks dump. CNN talks about transparency. Why did CNN not get out in front of this, say that we're parting company with Donna Brazile, say we're conducting an investigation, as opposed to, it kind of looks like CNN was more interested in protecting its image than in being transparent about its journalism.
After that first dust up, it was, okay, we partnered with, TV1 and Roland Martin, not to impugn Roland Martin. We don't know whether he did it or TV1 did it, but the CNN was certainly kind of like, look over there. And now this second one happened in a debate that was only CNN. There was no other partner. And if she got the question, the question is, where'd she get it from? And I'm sure, CNN should be out there defending its journalists. Anderson Cooper hosted that debate, and Don Lemon participated. It should be defending its journalists, and it should be saying, if nobody gave her the question, how'd she access it? Here we have systems. You could go back and check. You could find out when somebody's, ID logged into the system and where they went when they were in there. So if that's what they're suggesting, we should know that. The journalists over there at CNN should be demanding that right now.
Yeah, CNN should be horrified at this turn of events, to use Jake Tapper's term, one of the few who spoke out there, and should investigate and should go public with the results of that investigation and should try to, vindicate its reputation by identifying who was responsible. It's not fair to tarnish the whole network with what Donna Brazile did in helping Hillary Clinton, but that's where it stands now. And to not even come forward and say, oh, by the way, she's not coming back here. And ABC also suspended its contributorship with Donna Brazile when she became acting head. We'll see what ABC does.
Yeah, and good for them too. It's hard because she seems like a lovely person, but
she was vice chair of the DNC at the same time she was working for CNN. That was a conflict, as it turns out, it was a problem that could not be squared.
Good to see you, Howie.
My pleasure.
These stories, it brings you no joy to cover, but when people behave badly, what are you going to do? Anyway, we'd be happy to speak with her again to see what the update is on this second story.